Hi, my name's Renee, and this is my knitting podcast. So before we get started today, I just kind of wanted to talk about, have a small discourse about knitting. I know knitting, it's not an affordable thing to do anymore. Like maybe 20 years ago, 20 or 30 years ago, it was cheaper than buying clothes, but it's not really anymore. Probably after the 90s, after fast fashion started picking up. Like ever since then, clothes have been cheaper to just buy at a store than to make yourself. And so, I truly believe there's a way to knit in a very budget-friendly way, and in a way that probably is less expensive than buying at the store, just buying more budget yarns and looking out for sales and everything. Anyways, that being said, I think from now on in my knitting podcast, I'm gonna share like the important information about the yarn I'm using. Not like I use super expensive hand-dyed yarns or anything. Like every once in a while I've had, like, you're gonna see one later today. But that was kind of a special one when I was on vacation. Anyways, let's keep going. So from now on, when I talk about the yarns, I think I'm just gonna specify that what weight of yarn I'm using and what the content is. Like they like the drape of it or the way it looks or anything, that they know kind of what weight yarn to use and what content of the yarn to use to get like a similar look. That being said, I am still going to put the actual yarns I'm using in my Ravrelry page, like my project pages for each of them, just mostly for my reference, but also if someone does want to take a look, they can. I just don't want to like specifically advertise any kind of yarn that maybe isn't budget friendly, or something that's like super unique to me, like some kind of local dyer that nobody else could really get. But yeah, so I think that that's like really the important things. It's the weight of the yarn and the yarn content to kind of get a similar feel. So yeah, I just wanted to start off this video with that, just to just change things up a little bit. Yeah, so let's get into it now. All right, let's get started with finished objects. Let's start off with what I'm wearing. This is the Me Oh My tee by Park Williams, and it is a t-shirt with a rolled hem, like an unfinished rolled hem, and little 1x1 ribbing details, twisted rib, so 1x1 twisted rib details on the cuffs and on the collar. This is knit in a 50% cotton, 50% wool DK weight yarn, and the pattern does call for DK weight yarn. I think in the pattern they use on 100% cotton yarn, but I wanted wool for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, actually, I think when I first just saw the pattern, I thought it was just a 50-50 blend, but it was just cotton. So I probably could have spent less money just getting a cotton yarn, but whatever. It worked out. I was so happy when I finished this because I just was so excited to have like a more spring piece, not like a wintry piece in my wardrobe now that I've knit. And it's knit from the bottom up. And I don't know because I also sew, and like when people talk about a set-in sleeve, like I understand it in sewing terms. So this looks like a set-in sleeve, like it's right on that cusp of your shoulder, and it's knit with short rows going back and forth. It's not like in sewing where you would have a separate pattern piece and like insert it into the armhole to put a set-in sleeve. So I don't know if this is technically called a set-in sleeve or something else, but it looks like a set-in sleeve. And I really like the look of that because it looks like, I think it still looks hand knit, but it just looks different. Like it's not raglan, it's not drop shoulder. And I don't think as many patterns have like a set-in sleeve pattern, or as many like more modern patterns have a set-in sleeve pattern. Yeah, I really, really like it. It's very comfortable. It's not too warm at all. It's just like perfect, and it's cropped. I did knit the body, I think 1 inch longer than it suggests, and I believe it's the same amount of cropped on me. I just have a long torso, like I'm just long-waisted. So you kind of have to know your own body or measure yourself. But yeah, so I think it's cropped the same amount. It's like right at my waistline, but it's just, I have a long body, so I have to knit an extra inch for that. I also, with this yarn, I thought I had enough yarn, and I had to buy an extra ball, of course, but I'm so happy my local yarn store, she had only bought one colorway, like for a while, like it hasn't been bought up, right? So everything she had in stock was only one colorway. So when I went back, she's like, oh yeah, just go ahead, pick a ball. It doesn't matter what one, because they're all the same. And I was like, awesome, that's so lucky. Anyways, but yeah, this, what? I took a break while knitting this for some reason. Can't remember. I vaguely remember being slightly annoyed knitting this because I always make mistakes. Every time I knit, I always have to end up ripping back. But I just can't remember what mistake I made this time, because I know I had to like set it down for a while because it was kind of, driving me a little crazy. And then I came back to it and just kind of like banged it out and finished it. But I can't remember what I messed up on it, really. Whatever. Maybe it'll come to me later and I'll just add it in. Anyway, so that's my first FO I'm going to talk about. What I love about this sweater, this is Me Oh My sweater by Park Williams. I love the cropped fit. I didn't think I was going to like this like unfinished rolled bottom, but I really, really do. And these cap sleeves, love them. This was a great knit. I don't know. It was simple, right stockinette, like very simple. I really enjoyed doing the short rows for the sleeves. What else did I love about it? It was a really well written pattern. I would definitely knit something from Park and Knit again, like in a second. So what did I learn about knitting this? Well, I learned how to do a set-in sleeve, I think. A different technique, which is always great. I also learned, I do need to knit that extra length in the body sometimes when something's cropped, to make sure it's not like really cropped, just like a normal crop. And I also learned, what else did I learn? I don't think I did any special bind off. Honestly, I think I just did like a regular bind off. Sometimes I like a regular bind off. Controversial opinion. I don't know how much I love an Italian or tubular bind off. I'm not sure. Obviously, I guess there's a bind off for every situation. Sometimes I like it, but for this one, just wanted that like clean line. But yeah, really, really love it. I feel like I learned something while knitting this, which is good. So what I loved about knitting these socks were how fast they were, because they're sport weight yarn. I love the self-patterning yarn. I also love that I got to knit it for a loved one. That always feels nice. And I also love that they loved it. That makes me happy. What I learned about knitting those socks were, I can crank out some socks real fast if I want to. And I have the same kind of yarn, so I have another 100 grams of that same yarn. Just like sitting in stash right now, it's a really pretty blue and gray color. Anyways, but so like I know if I want a pair of socks, and those are like long socks, right? You saw the picture. They're not like ankle socks. If I wanted to like bang out some ankle socks in a few days, I probably could with those socks. So it's always good to know that like if I want a quick satisfying knit, I could take that yarn and knit some like ankle socks or even like no-show socks. What else did I learn? I learned that maybe I should have knit those on like in a slightly tighter gauge, because the self-patterning yarn, like in some places it doesn't quite go around all the way for like a section. You might be able to see it in the picture, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's like the pattern doesn't fully finish around the sock. So I think it needs to be like a little bit smaller, either less stitches or a tighter gauge. So my next hat is the head sock pattern, and it's just a 2x2 ribbed hat. And I knit it in this pink fingering weight bamboo yarn. It's 100% bamboo. And so it's very floppy, right? Like I wanted to knit a hat that was thin, kind of like spring friendly, right? And not going to be like super warm. And I think it's a little bit big. Like I feel like it probably grew a little bit after I blocked it, but I'm hoping I can, like, I'll wash it and I want to just throw it in the dryer and see if it shrinks up a little bit, because I do really like it. It's super soft and it's oddly warm. It's probably like a little bit more warm than I even wanted it to be, honestly. But yeah, I knit it extra long so it's nice and slouchy when I also bring up the brim like that. And it's also a good length where I can bring up the brim twice and then it's like fitted to my head. So when I like actually want to be a little bit more warm, fit it to my head with like double around my ears. But yeah, this hat took me forever to knit. It just like the 2x2 rib, knitting this hat with that yarn on these needles, like just broke my heart. It just took forever for me to finally do it. But just, you know, I knit a lot on it a while ago. Yeah, like I started this hat in February and it is now June. So, but yeah, I really like the hat. It worked out fine. I just want to try to shrink it maybe a little bit. What I learned about knitting this hat, the head sock pattern, I learned that I think a fully 2x2, no, what I loved about this, I love the yarn. It's very silky smooth. That bamboo yarn is nice. Honestly, anybody, I think, you know, I guess I don't know 100% because I haven't knit with it, but it's supposed to like viscose fabric and yarn is literally meant to mimic silk and shine, right? Like the bamboo yarns are usually always shiny, and also drape. Like this thing is very drapey, like almost maybe too drapey, right? For a hat. But it's great. Like it's so soft. I do love the drape. This yarn, I would knit with this yarn or a similar yarn like the Lion Brand True Brew yarn. This one's just like a very like local off-brandy yarn that's 100% bamboo. But yeah, any day I would knit a cami out of 100% bamboo yarn. Again, I really love the yarn. I love the 2x2 rib, but I also don't I loved the 2x2 ribbed. I learned that I don't love knitting it. So kind of like a give and take, right? I also love that I have the option to either only fold it over once or twice if I want to. I can have a slouchy hat or a not so slouchy hat. I also love that this is warmer than expected. Like I probably can wear this in the late fall, maybe even the winter on not like a windy day. What I learned about this is that with not having a protein-based yarn, having a cellulose-based yarn, I probably should have knit it like a size smaller because of the whole growth and not like it doesn't have this spring back like wool does or alpaca. So I guess I learned that. I learned, like I said, I maybe don't love knitting 2x2 rib, or I didn't while I was knitting this one, but I do love the way it looks. And I also learned how drapey the bamboo yarn really is. So that's good to know. I always love learning. The next FO I'm going to talk about are, I also don't have them with me because they were a gift net. They are socks I made for my boyfriend's stepdad for his birthday in May. And I'll put up a picture. They are I don't know if it's a very like obvious yarn because it's like a self-patterning yarn, but it's a really cheap sock yarn I got. And it is, so it's a fingering weight slash more like a sport weight sock yarn, 75% wool and 25% nylon. For some reason I thought the percentages were different for this one. I guess not. But yeah, I knit that on our way to and back from Vancouver. We took a little trip earlier, and that was very fun. Anyways, but yeah, it was kind of like my travel knitting. And I knit them up super fast. Like I said, they're more like a sport weight, not like a fingering weight. So they went really, really fast and really quick, satisfying knit, and I love them. He really likes them, so good. And I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel on that. 60, no pattern. I didn't follow any pattern other than the Fish Lips Kiss heel pattern. But it's a, yeah, 64, no, it's not 64 inches because it's a sport weight. So the socks are 56 stitches around, and I did 2x2 ribbing for the cuff, and so I knit it from the cuff down. Fish Lips Kiss heel, I've said it already, and then just a regular like knit two together SSK every second round toe. Yeah, it was really fun, satisfying knit. So the next FO is this hat. And it's supposed to be for my dad. It is the Hill 60 hat by Galt House of Yarn. And it is a worsted weight yarn, and 100% acrylic worsted weight yarn. And it is 2x2 rib for the brim, folded up. So it's extra long 2x2 rib for the brim. Then you fold it up. And it is this is a free pattern too, by the way. I think it's knit 6, purl 2. I really enjoy the ribbing pattern for like the hat. It's supposed to be like a watch cap style hat. Anyways, it turned out, I'm usually a fairly tight knitter, and I didn't want a gauge swatch for this one. So I went up a needle size because I always usually have to. And I didn't have to with this one, of course. So it turned out really big. Like, I guess, like I technically could still wear it. But it is very, like, big. It's not tight to the head at all. So I wanted to give this for my dad for Father's Day / his birthday. And yeah, I don't know. My boyfriend has a very large head, like yeah, anyway, I won't say anymore. He's a very large head, so and he has like trouble finding hats, so having like an extra big hat around for him isn't really like a bad thing, especially in gray. He'll wear gray, he likes gray. But I think it would fit my dad. I don't know if it fits me. Like, it's wearable for me. I could wear it, so I guess if I can, he should, right? But yeah, so I hope he likes it. So what I learned about knitting the hat for my dad, what I loved about it, it was worsted weight yarn. It went by super quick. I think I finished it in like 2 or 3 days. I love that it's acrylic, easy to care for, giftable yarn. I love that. I like the 2x2 rib. Like I said, I love the way it looks. And because it was such a quick knit and I don't have to really knit that much, like it's probably only like 20 or 30 rows, right, of the 2x2 rib. Went by super quick, so I didn't have to hate it. I also love whatever this is, like the 5x2 or the 6x2 rib for the body of the hat. And yeah, what I learned knitting this hat was, what did I learn? It's a fairly basic hat. Maybe I didn't learn too much knitting this. Other than I learned I really liked that ribbing, whatever is on the hat, however many stitches, like the thicker knit to purl ratio rib. Really like it. Oh, I did learn something. Even if you think you know you're like almost 100, you're like 99% sure that like just going up a needle size will be fine because you're usually a tight knitter. Always gauge swatch, even for the little things, right? So, and especially with a worsted weight yarn, why didn't I gauge swatch? It literally would have took me like a half hour to an hour. It would have been whatever. Like, and acrylic yarn dries super fast too. So like if I were to actually like wash and block it, to like properly swatch, I could probably, if I did that in the morning, I could probably start casting this on with the dry, like measure the dry swatch, see what's up, and start knitting it in the evening. Like, why don't you swatch, Renee? We always swatch. From now on, we always swatch. Yeah. So my next FO is a shawl for me. I've already knit a shawl and I gave it to my grandma finally. I gave my grandma her shawl and my mom her hat for my grandma's birthday and Mother's Day for my mom, for each of those gifts. But after I knit my grandma that shawl, I was like, I need a shawl. I really want a shawl. So, I knit myself a like one skein of sock yarn weight yarn shawl, like a one skein wonder kind of deal. And this is the Rosewater shawl by Jania Kaleo. And so it's a crescent shaped garter stitch shawl with a lace border. And it is just, oh, I love it so much. It knit up pretty fast, especially the lace portion. I'm realizing as I keep knitting, I really like knitting any kind of lace or eyelet lace, anything. But yeah, it's so pretty. The colors are very, when I first, it took me about 3 weeks to realize like why these colors look so pretty together, like this purpley and aqua blue. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's literally like the Little Mermaid, like her little top and her tail. So that's worked out like that. It's the perfect little shawl. Maybe someone would even call it a shawlette, but I would call it a full shawl. It covers decent amount. And also this isn't fully blocked yet. During the summer, I live here. Obviously, it's a different setting than where I've filmed otherwise at the apartment. I have an apartment in a city that's 2 hours away from here because I go to university, so I need to stay there during school. And then I come here, which is like home to me. This is my home for the summers and for weekends and everything like that. So yeah, I love this shawl. So I've been here and oh my goodness, because I've spent so much time this year at the apartment, all my blocking mats and pins and everything are over there. So I didn't get to block this to its full potential. All I did was wet block it, like wet it, wash it, and kind of like, because it's a superwash sock yarn. Yeah, it's a 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon blend, fingering weight. And so when I washed it, I like stretched it like while it was wet. So like it was wet and I just kind of let the water really pull it and stretch it as much as it could. But I didn't actually like pin it out and stretch it as much as I can. So either when I go back to the apartment or when I bring the blocking supplies here, I can give it a proper shawl block and make it even like wider, because I really like the shawl. I just really want it to be like an inch or two longer, like I guess wider anyways, deeper, just to go down a little bit more so it falls like more like here, almost like grazing my elbows, but also being up on my shoulders still. So hopefully it'll stretch out to kind of do that. I know superwash merino has like a tendency to grow and stretch, so I'm hoping that works by benefit with this shawl. But yeah, the Rosewater shawl by Jania Kaleo. She has so many shawl patterns. This is a free shawl pattern, by the way. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. This is not a free shawl pattern. I don't know why I thought it was. Anyways, but she has a bunch of shawl patterns that are One Skein Wonder patterns, and because they always usually have lace, they end up bigger. Like they're not like a little shawlette or anything. They have like all the holes to make it, you know, like a bigger shawl. Yeah, it worked out really good. I really love it. I'm so happy to finally have a shawl of my own. And I wear it seriously almost every single day. Like in the mornings when I get up and I eat my breakfast, not after I eat my breakfast, because I like to wear it like a stole, like this. That's how I like to wear it to keep warm. And these little like hangy bits kind of are a little bit annoying when I'm eating. But after I'm done eating and I'm like sitting knitting and watching some YouTube in the mornings, because that's what I do every morning, I always am wearing it to like, instead of like a house coat or something, just to keep me a little bit more warm. Anyways, but yeah, that is my rosewater shawl and I love it so much. I'm so excited to knit my next shawl, to be honest. Another FO, another red number. I don't know, maybe I raved too much about this shawl already, but what I love about this shawl, I love the lace, I love the garter, I love the crescent, I love everything, I love the yarn. It's a hand-dyed yarn too. I love that I realized it kind of looks like Ariel from The Little Mermaid. I love the crescent shape, like I said. Sometimes like the triangle shapes, I like them as scarves, not as stoles. And I think I want like more like a stole. I learned, and part of the reason why I wanted to knit the crescent shaped shawl, one, because I just like the look of it. And two, because I was listening to the Yarniacs podcast, and I'm going retroactively through all of their podcasts. So, I'm like, I listened to like the recent ones but I'm only on like 160 or something for like the back cataloged ones. And so I can't remember where Gail said it, but she said she loves how much crescent shaped shawls, they actually stay on her shoulders so well. And she said she loves how they have the little curly bits at the end, just at the nature of how they're knit. And I was like, that sounds so cute. I want to knit. Definitely. I love the look of it anyway, so I definitely want to knit a crescent shaped shawl now. So yeah, that is the rosewater. What did I learn about knitting this? I learned that one skein of yarn, you can do so much with one skein of yarn. So much. This is awesome. Also, this is a yarn. This is like one of those times where like I saw a yarn, thought it was beautiful, bought it and used it right away. Like it was just one of those moments where you like just intuitively knew I loved it and I'm going to use it right away or as soon as I can. I did stare at it for a really long time because I initially thought I was going to knit socks with it because I know I'll have socks for like a really long time. But it almost seemed so like I like the pretty speckled hand-dyed yarn socks, but because I love these colors so much, I was like, I want it to be more than just socks. Like, I don't want to walk on them. Like, no one sees them. I don't get to like, I don't look at my socks a lot, you know? But like, if I have a shawl on, I can look at these all day long. I can just look down, look at it, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, so I just really, really love it. What I learned, there was points when I was doing this lace at the very beginning, but because it's so busy, like I can't even tell where it looks different, right? Like whatever. Like I know there's some mistakes right at the first few, like the first section of it. But I guess like if I wanted it to be perfect, I could have went back and fixed it. But this is something like I learned, you don't need to. You don't always need to fix your mistakes, especially in something like this where like I can't even know the mistakes. Like, yeah, no, it all looks the same to me. It's whatever. So, fixing mistakes is circumstantial and not everything has to be perfect. I forgot to mention, I use every single last bit of this yarn. And you want to know how I know? I use every single bit. Like, I didn't gauge swatch for this because I knew it. I know we said we're going to gauge swatch for everything, but I knew I didn't have to gauge swatch for a shawl. I'm pretty sure I probably just like went up a needle size and was like, whatever, it's a shawl. Like, it doesn't have to fit, right? Like a hat or a clothes. But yeah, so I didn't swatch for this. And I know I used every bit because when I was casting off and I was talking to my boyfriend's mom about it, I was like, I don't think I have enough yarn to finish the cast off, but I don't want to like go back a whole row just to have enough yarn for the cast off. So I was like, I'll risk it, whatever. I was like, I kind of have a yarn that's like a tealy color that I could use to finish the cast off, like just whatever, tie a knot and finish it off. And yeah, I was right. And I was right by literally like 6 stitches. I was 6 stitches short. So I used every single meter of this yarn plus like, where is it? You can't even tell. Yeah, like 6 stitches of this other yarn, which you can't even notice. So that's what I learned. You can be scrappy and it doesn't even look scrappy. Okay. What I love about the pure mesh pullover is like, just look at it, but not to love, right? Like, I love that something that I do not own anything like this in my wardrobe. Like, I don't think it would be something I would buy either. I think it would be something I would like try on in a fitting room, really like it, but be like, am I really gonna wear it? But for some reason, like, having made the decision and taken the time and spent the money to actually knit a more like out there piece for me, like something I don't have in my wardrobe, that it makes me want to wear it. And I'm gonna, once I have a bralette to go underneath it and go with it. So I love that it's a totally unique piece in my wardrobe. I love that. I also like, it's a superwash yarn, so I love how soft it is. It's very wearable against the skin. I love, like, it's a very interesting fabric, especially because I use the fingering weight yarn instead of the lace, I think. And I didn't use like a silk yarn or anything, right? Like, it's a sock yarn, so it's a little warmer. It's warm. Like, it keeps you, like, would you think something like this would keep you warm? It does though. Like, you can kind of see almost, obviously it's still holey, but like, it's somewhat dense for like fishnet, if you know what I mean. So it keeps you oddly warm. It like keeps that like slight chill off your shoulders. Like, it puts something just barely on your shoulders. Like, it just works. And I really like that. What I learned knitting this is I learned that I need to be a little bit more patient when I'm seaming. And this is something where I made a few mistakes, which is fine, but where I should have fixed them. Like, because it's so holey, making a mistake makes a hole look like 2 or 3 times as big as it should. Maybe I can show you one, because it looks pretty weird when it's like, if you see it. Obviously it's not like a big deal. Here, yeah, you can see it on my arm a little bit better, but you can see where I made that mistake, right? Like, where they're all little and then there's one huge gaping hole. There's, I think maybe one more in here, or maybe that's the only one. I don't know, but so yeah, I should have fixed that mistake, and I think it's a really easy fix. I think I can still fix it. It's just not while I was knitting it. I also learned that this isn't necessary, because you have to seam it. Like, it's not like you knit the sleeve in the round, you knit the sleeve flat. But I should have like measured it against my arm, because I don't know. You know what? No. I think it's actually, because it stretches out like this, it shortens, right? Like, when you stretch something widthwise, it gets shorter. So I think it does fit me quite right. I literally maybe could have took a row or 2 off. Like, it's maybe a tad too long. Yeah. What else did I learn? I learned, yeah, like I said, to take more time on my seaming, because I don't love it. Like, definitely, like, the second side I did was like a lot better than the first side I did, and it kind of sits weird on my arms. Also, I was saying earlier that I said I wanted to maybe knit this again, but I don't think so, because I want to look at the construction of the new James N. Watts pattern. It's kind of like the pure mesh pullover, but like a little bit different of a lace pattern and a little bit more dense, like not as holy, a little bit less holy, but still lots of holes. And so maybe instead of knitting another one of these, I want to knit one of those, because I think I learned that I don't love the construction too much of this. It almost like it doesn't fit very well up here and go just the way it seemed. Like it's just the nature of the construction. So I always feel like it gets like a little, whatchamacallit, like a big space between my armpit and like the armpit of the garment. So yeah, like I said, it's not the most comfortable, but I want to look at the construction of that new pattern, and hopefully it's a little bit different. So maybe I'd like that a little bit more. This is my Pure Mesh Pullover by James N. Watts. And this is knit out of a fingering weight superwash, 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. It's kind of hard to see what it's got on the body, but yeah, it's a all over lace pattern, like fishnet lace pattern. It's really, it seems like a lot of people have been knitting it lately because the summer, but yeah, nice arms. A one by one ribbing for the neck and the cuffs, and it's unfinished at the bottom. And I think I'll just leave it like that, to be honest. And yeah, it's a very interesting construction. Honestly, I kind of want to knit it again. I'm not like the most proud of this, but I still really like it. I don't have any like bralettes to wear, like kind of either. I would love to make a bralette at the same yarn or color to wear underneath it, or like a really cropped tank top to wear underneath it, or a black one. So that's why I haven't been getting a lot of wear out of it. I do have one like kind of faded red crop tank top, but it just doesn't, it's because it's faded, it's almost looks pink compared to this underneath, and it kind of looks funny. But yeah, so hopefully I can knit a little bralette soon so I can wear them together and wear double knit, because why not, right? But yeah, I would next time, I think I want to knit this again, and next time I would like to knit it. This is actually supposed to be knit out of a lace weight yarn and not a fingering weight yarn, but I wanted like that little bit of extra warmth and coverage, because I saw a other knitting YouTuber podcaster knit it with a fingering weight, and I just really liked it. I liked it. And you know, on the project page, there's people who have knit it in like a fingering weight too, and I liked it. So maybe my next one will be an actual lace weight one. And I'll be a little bit neater, because I was so excited to have this done. I rushed the seaming, and it feels kind of funny on, and it looks kind of funny, not to the point where I won't wear it. But yeah, I'm excited to be able to wear it once I have the crop top. And I'm also excited to probably knit another one soon. My last FO, it's been a while, so I've had a lot. I like doing these podcasts because it really shows me like I do knit things. Sometimes, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but it kind of feels like I'm not knitting anything. I don't know why it feels like that. I think it's just because the projects take a really long time. And so it just like takes a really long time to do finish. And honestly, I finished this top and the rosewater shawl literally a day apart. So I was like knitting them on the same time. So it would like take twice as long, right, to get both of them finished, instead of getting one finished, having a finished object, finishing another, and having another finished object. So I guess when you work on more than one thing, right, everything takes longer. Anyways, but these podcasts show me I actually do knit things, and that's exciting. I actually do finish things. So my last FO is the Loop Sweater by Petite Knit, and it is a DK weight sweater, and I used a DK weight yarn, and this is a 70% wool, 30% silk, and so it's a raglan style with these long, like ribbed cuffs, and also a turtleneck. You can wear it kind of like full up or rolled down. I kind of do it both ways, however I'm feeling. This is a very, very soft garment. I love it. When I first finished it, I was wearing it like every day. Like I love it so much. But now it's gotten a little bit warmer, so I've not got to wear it as much, but it's okay. I'm wearing other knits, right? But I think this is still something I can wear in the evenings here. Like it still gets cold, and it's only a DK weight. Like it's not like a super bulky sweater that I'm gonna get overheated in. But yeah, this is the Louvre sweater by Petite Knit. Not much to really say about it other than like I really like it on me. I like the fit on me. I think I knit the smallest size because petite knit patterns are always so oversized, and I don't like that much of an oversized fit. Yeah, love it. Don't know what to say. I'm super happy to get this one done too. What I love about the Louvre pattern by Petite Knit, I love the yarn. I love the yarn. I love the raglan. There's just, everything's just very like, to be honest, this pattern, it's very boring. But I like it. Like it's like a basic, right? Like, but I knitted it in like this kind of like weird off green color. So it's like a little bit not as basic as if it did like a neutral or like a black or white or whatever. But yeah, it's just nice. I don't know how to explain it. Just nice. I like it a lot, like a lot. What I learned about this was oh, I sound Canadian sometimes. What I learned about what I learned while knitting this pattern. What did I learn? I think technically this is the first thing I did short rows on. Yeah, so I did short rows in the back to make that look a little bit taller than the front. I also learned, oh, this is the first thing I did an Italian bind off for. So you double knit for 2 rows and then do like a tubular bind off. And like I said earlier, I don't know how I feel about tubular bind offs. Let me know how you feel about tubular bind offs, because like I just can't make up my mind. Oh, I also learned to not bind off too tightly. It's hardly noticeable, but and of course I like was binding off, like I don't know why it worked out this way, but I bound off the front first and then the back. So like I figured out all my tension issues after I got to the back, right? Where like no one sees it, but then my tension issues for the collar bind off are at the front. But yeah, it's like it's slightly, very slightly misshapen at the neck. You're not even gonna be able to tell. You can't even tell. See, who cares, right? Who cares? But yeah, it's like slightly more tight right in the front there, and it kind of like dips down if you look really close. But I think it blocked out a little pretty good. You know what else I learned about knitting this? Like when knitting this, because I think last podcast I was talking, I might rip this out, and I decided not to, obviously. And I was having like rowing out issues, and it was looking real tattery almost. Like it looked not good to me. And I learned that blocking solves those issues. Like, so if I see that a similar thing happening in the next knit, like I don't feel like I have to worry now, because I know most likely it will pretty much block out and it won't matter. Like pretty sure I had like a little bit of that going on while I was knitting this top. And I was like, oh, but that loose sweater fixed itself when I blocked it. So I'm not worried. And yeah, this blocked out too. So I learned that blocking is great and I like blocking. Yeah. So let's get into works in progress. First off, these have been a work in progress for a while. And for some reason I'm having I'm dragging my feet a bit, you know? But I wanted to knit toe-up socks. So I did. And I knit 2 toe-up socks. And I want to use the rest of that. I have another pair of plain white socks in the same yarn. It's a fingering weight yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And for some reason I was having trouble finding a tutorial to do a heel flap and gusset from the toe up. I might have talked about this last podcast too. Anyways, but I'm going to do an afterthought heel, and I've marked out on each one where I want that to go. I didn't think about putting in scrap yarn when I was knitting it, so I put little markers into where I want my afterthought heel to be. And I just can't bring myself to want to do that. I'm just really dragging my feet and kind of lazy about it. I'm not scared to do it. I'm just I don't want to do it. I even tried to I tried them on to be would these maybe just work as tube socks so I don't have to, but no, they don't. My arch is too high. It doesn't fit right. So one day these will have afterthought heels and all will be well. But the day is not today. I just can't bring myself to do it for some reason. Whatever. And yeah, I think I just followed the Crazy Sock Lady's toe up tutorial on YouTube. Either it was the Crazy Sock Lady or it was Nitty Natties. I can't remember whose it was, but yeah. I think it was Nitty Natties. I'm just gonna get this one over quickly because I think I am going to rip these out. This is a fingering weight camel and silk yarn I got while I was on vacation. And the place I got it, it was on Granville Island in Vancouver, called Sanjo Silk. And these are called, I think it's their pattern. Yeah, it says Coin Lace Fingerless Gloves by Sanjo Silk. I'll show you the picture. I won't show you the pattern. But yeah, they're very pretty and I really fell in love with them. And I really want fingerless gloves, or mittens, I guess. But I've just stalled out on them and now I've just been waiting. I've only knit the one. And not even the one, I just started one, I'm not on the second one or anything. And I'm just do I want to knit these with this lace pattern? I'm not enjoying this lace pattern for some reason. But I can't bring myself yet to rip it out. I've been kind of stalking other fingerless mitt patterns that use fingering weight, but I just haven't decided yet if I want to rip these out or not. And because this is the lace work, this took a decent amount of time to do, so I feel it's hard to, rip it out when it took you a lot of time. So, who knows what'll happen with these? We'll find, only time will tell. I'm gonna save the biggest whip for last, okay? Okay. So my next whip is socks. So I got this yarn. So I've misplaced the label for the sock yarn, but it's an alpaca wool nylon blend sock yarn. And honestly, I would call it a light fingering weight, not a regular fingering weight. And it is the most crazy colors, this blue and pink micro stripe. And you can see it in the yarn, but you can't really notice it while it's knit up. There is a transition with the purple in between, but you can't notice it knit up. And I have this sock and wool tweed I'm gonna use for the cuffs, heels, and toes. And so this is my second sock, actually. This is my first one. So yeah, the cuff and the heel. But I haven't done the toe on it yet because I only have a little bit of this yarn for the toes and heels and cuffs. So I'm going to knit the heel of this before I decide if I actually am able to do the toes both with that other contrasting yarn. But I hope I can, because I really like that, it's a really boring kind of subtle warm gray with that crazy color. I love it. I saw the skein in the yarn shop and I was just like, those are begging to be socks, just begging to be socks. So that's what they'll be. They are a Fish Lips Kiss heel, 60 inch around, 60 inch around, 60 stitches around. And I'm doing a 3x1 rib on them. If you could maybe see like that. Yeah, you can. 3x1 rib on them. And I'm even doing the rib on the bottom of the foot too. Like I just wanted something really, something that wasn't stockinette, because I wanted it to kind of like suck, like fit to my foot a little bit better than maybe just stockinette would. But I didn't want to like think even that little about having to like switch to just do stockinette and then go back to the ribbing pattern for the top of the foot. So it's just ribbing all the way. And if I don't like it sensory wise, I can always flip it inside out, to be honest, just to, who cares? Like if it looks unfinished on the inside, they're gonna go in boots or shoes anyways, right? But this yarn, you can kind of, there's like this slight fluff to it. I like the alpaca in it and I love it. It's so soft. I have two skeins of a different color, but like they're like more muted pastel-y colors, and I really want to knit a shawl with that, with those skeins. Yeah, those are my socks. I'm almost done. They've taken a back seat because you'll see what I'm knitting that I've had all my attention on since I finished this. I cast it on after I finished this and just fell in love with the pattern. And I've been going hard knitting on this sweater. Like I think I've only knit on this for a few days. I'm gonna check because it's insane to me. So I cast it on 5 days ago. So I'm on the 6th day of knitting it. It's a sport weight sweater, 100% merino wool, in this like pinky lilac-y color. But I've knit the yoke, I've separated for the sleeves, and I've knit like a couple inches of the body already. I've just been going hard, real hard. 5 or 6 days. And this is what I've got. It's a lot. So I'm almost like proud of myself. I didn't think I could knit that fast, but apparently I can when I really want to. And when I can, I'm going to be honest here. I've been knitting for hours a day. It's not like I've only knit for a couple hours each day. It's been hours each day knitting this. So, this is the Petal Tail pattern sweater by Sachiko Bergen. And it's this beautiful lace pattern that looks like little dragonfly wings. Like, if I can show you. You can't really see that well. See better when it's blocked, right? Like, there, you can kind of see that. There, yeah, you can see that. They kind of look like dragonfly wings. And so there's 3 motifs. They get a little bit bigger each time to like form the yoke. And those yarn overs are what like make the yoke big. This is a really interesting method of like short rows, because it's not short rows. And I don't know if like this is my first circular yoke sweater. I've only done raglans before. And how instead of doing short rows, like knitting back and forth and back, well, you still knit back and forth. Instead of like keeping it in the round and then just like kind of like knitting like a little crescent, right? Because that's kind of like what the short rows end up making. You take 75% of the stitches off, like the front and the 2 sleeves, and you just knit a little flat piece of like an inch or whatever of just going back and forth, a little wedge section, and you create this little like gusset at the back. I don't know if that's normal for circular yokes because I've never, like I said, I never knit one before. So I thought that was pretty cool, just like a different way to do short rows, right? And it looks all bunched up, right? Because the lace, I'm excited to block it out so it lays like a lot flatter. I've tried it on, it does fit. I swatched for this, and like fairly well. I did it a couple times to make sure I had the right gauge. And like I said earlier, I'm a fairly tight knitter, but I'm knitting this sweater on the recommended needle size. And so either the designer and me have a similar, like we're both tight knitters, or the other theory is, and I'm pretty sure this is right, this is 100% superwash merino yarn. So it grows a lot when you block it. So pre-blocking, my swatch looked really small, which is technically what this is right now. But like when I blocked it, it grew a lot. So really glad I swatched, because if I didn't, this sweater would be huge, absolutely huge. But yeah, it's going really well. I love the lace pattern. Yeah, you can see how the short rows work, right? What kind? I don't even know if they're technically called short rows or not. But yeah, like the back sits higher. And yeah, I can't. Oh, and also, if you look on there's not like a lot of projects for this sweater, but there should be. I think it's beautiful, and I think the fit is gorgeous, honestly. And I think I think I should have, yeah, I think I've knit too much of the body now for it to really make sense. Maybe not. But I think this sweater would look phenomenal with waist shaping. Like, it's kind of supposed to be like a, not tight sweater, but a fairly more fitted sweater. Not like that kind of like more trendy oversized fit right now. So like having that like more fitted and also the waist shaping, I think would look beautiful. So maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. I probably won't, to be honest. Yeah. And so yeah, I was talking about the projects. A lot of people, like this neck, I found what made me want to knit this pattern is this one project in the project pages, and she knit it more ballet neck style. Like it like goes not off the shoulder, like on the shoulder still, but like pretty wide and deep, and this beautiful ballet neck. But nobody else knit it like that. I'm like, why? Why wouldn't you knit it like that? It's so beautiful. But I know some people don't like, having all that exposed. So a lot more people knit it more like crew necks like this. And so what I'm planning to do when I'm picking up the stitches to keep it nice and looser and wide, I'm going to pick up the amount of stitches for the size up for the neckline, and probably not knit as many rows. So it doesn't, like, the more rows if you've ever knit like a turtleneck sweater before, that you picked up for stitches for the neck, like the neck looks way bigger than a turtleneck should be, but when you do the ribbing, it cinches it in a lot the higher you go. So the shorter, the more wide, the higher, the more cinched in. So I'm probably gonna maybe knit a little bit less rows, or maybe the same amount. Honestly, it's not like a crazy amount. And I haven't decided in the pattern, it's supposed to either be like a folded over hem, or you can like knit it twice as long and then fold it over and sew it after you're done. But I don't know if I want a folded over or not. I can't decide if I just want to do a 2x2 rib, and just bind off, or if I want to do the folded over. The only thing what makes me want to do the folded over for the neck band, I won't do it for the cuffs. The cuffs? What do you call those? Yeah, the cuffs, whatever. Here, it's going to be a long sleeve sweater. I'm going to do a regular stretchy, what do you do? either like a traditional bind off with a needle size up so it's nice and loose, or to do one of those stretchy bind off where it's like a regular bind off, but then you like knit through the back loop so it has some extra stretch. That's how I'm gonna bind off for the cuffs and the hem. But for the neckline, because it's a little bit more visible, I want that really smooth transition for the 2x2 rib to kind of fall over. But when I've been looking at bind offs that aren't fold over, to do like a tubular bind off for a 2x2 rib, it does not look clean. Like because you have to like convert it to a 1x1 rib and then do the tubular bind up. But I'm like, no, that's not the look I want to go for. I want the 2x2 rib to perfectly go over, like smoothly, like how a normal two-reeler bind off does for 1x1 rib. But I've looked into it a little bit. It doesn't really seem possible. So I might have to do that folded over, collar to get that really smooth line for the 2x2 rib. And I was looking at the projects, and my only concern with the 2x2 rib, sorry, not the 2x2 rib, the folded over neckline, is that sometimes they look too bulky. But this is a sport weight yarn, and because I'm not knitting the collar super big or anything, I think it should be okay. Like I'm gonna knit probably like a 2-inch, maybe either like a 2 or 3-inch collar, and then fold it in half. So it's either only going to be like an inch or an inch and a half. It's going to be really short like this. Like I just want it just a little one so it sits nice and wide. But I think that's all I'm going to talk about for that one, because that's a lot of rambling just for one little sweater. But I'm really excited for it. I think I'm really excited for it. I've knit a bunch in only a few days. Yeah, love it. Oh, one more thing I want to say about it is that, like, of course, that's how it always works out. Like, there's been a couple things I've started to knit where you don't put lifelines in, you make a mistake in lace, and then you have to either restart or live with the mistake, really, if you don't know how to fix it, because it's hard to fix lace. And so after almost like every motif I did, I put in a lifeline just in case. And it was fine. Like, you put in a lifeline and you never need it, right? But then you don't put in a lifeline and you need it. So I guess just like, I have to always put in the lifeline to make sure. So I took those lifelines out now, and I put like a random one just in the body, just in case some catastrophe happens and it all comes off the needles and all undoes. Because it's a superwash yarn, it has like, it could, like I could lose stitches that go all the way down because it's so slippery. So I put in a lifeline just in the body to make sure that does not happen. I doubt it will. Like, I think I'm pretty good now, but yeah. Another thing I'm questioning, I can't shut the heck up about this. Another thing I'm questioning about this is when I'm picking up the sleeves, I'm not sure if I should go up a half a needle size or half a millimeter. Because I know I've heard people, like you knit tighter in a smaller circumference round, and I'm already a tight knitter. So would it be like extra tight? So I'm debating going up a half a millimeter needle. I guess I could always knit a few rounds. I think if it was a too big gauge, I would notice right away. I think it's almost a little, it's a little harder to notice sometimes, that like tighter gauge. Because I think that poof is a little bit more noticeable when you have like a bigger gauge. But yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. Honestly, I would knit this again as a t-shirt with like a more like, if like a cotton wool yarn like this t-shirt, and knit it just as like a little cap sleeve with a little crop top. I think it would be so freaking cute. I want this one to be long sleeve, but honestly, just looking at it like this, I'm like, this would be a cute crop top. Maybe I should just finish it. But is that just my lazy brain being lazy? Who knows? So that was a lot. There was a big break in between from when I did my last one to now. So how it worked out is that I recorded my last podcast a long time ago, half edited it a long time ago, and just kind of finished editing it maybe like a week ago. So I actually recorded that podcast a long time ago. And so the break between that podcast and this podcast is way bigger than what YouTube is kind of looks like. I haven't knit all this much in just like a couple weeks. No, I have not. This has been like probably like, I don't even know when I recorded that, honestly. Maybe February? Like, has it been that long? It may have been February or March, I think. So it's been a while since I've recorded a podcast. I just want to keep that like a reality check there. Like, I'm not knitting this much. Like, I'm a student. I have to work in the summer. Like, it's not like I'm knitting 12 hours a day, even though some days I do on the weekends. Yeah. But yeah, so just wanted to just kind of make that clear. Yeah. This has been really fun today. I'm excited to, like, I finally recorded in my more like homey home. My boyfriend's gone for a couple days because he has to go into the city for stuff. So I got the house to myself. So I was like, oh, maybe I should record because I'm alone. Well, I do have my dog with me, but she's sleeping in the bed. She's super tired. I don't know why. She hasn't done anything all day. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed sharing my knitting with me. Please feel free to share what you're knitting, any opinions on what you think I'm knitting. Please be nice. You can be critical, just be nice. Yeah. I hope it's okay that I'm gonna stop mentioning yarn brands, because yeah, I want to keep this a little bit more accessible, because I think I've fallen, yeah, let's have some honest like knitting chat here. I think I've fallen into the trap of like, I can only, did you see the flicker? Or did I just blink twice? I don't know. Yeah, honest knit chat. Yeah, like I feel like I've fallen into the trap of feeling like I can only knit with more expensive, not even more expensive, they just happen to be more expensive yarns. Like, I have to be knitting with these ethical or sustainable or supporting local, like all those things are good and fine, but like, reality check, I've spent too much money on yarn and it's like gotten out of hand. And it's not like I have, like, maybe to some I have like a lot of yarn, but like I don't think I have nearly as much yarn as other people. Like, I have, yeah, let's be honest, I have well, I always want to be honest, but so I have this, like, it's about this deep, maybe that wide, and then whatever, like it's like this rectangle, like one of those roll under the bed storage things, and that's like it has some like yarn scraps and a few skeins. I think there's not much in there right now. And then I have like a reusable grocery bag that's like full of yarn, and then I have like one of those little like cube storage bucket things that has like my acrylic yarn. Like, it has 2 balls of the like Pound of Love by Lion Brand and some random other acrylic yarn I've picked up at the thrift store. So like a decent amount of yarn. I have enough yarn to knit like projects, multiple projects. But like, even just looking in the background of some, you know, like knitting podcasters stuff, it's I did like a quick, I don't even know if I should say this, but I did like a quick calculation, and I counted how many I saw, and I like multiplied by how many like there roughly would be, and they're all like hand-dyed yarns, so they're like at least $30 a skein Canadian, $28 to $30 a skein Canadian at least, maybe even more in American, and it was like $6,000. $6,000. And I don't think people talk about, people say expensive, people say a lot. You know, people use these words that are ambiguous and not specific, but thousands and thousands of dollars on yarn is a lot. It's a lot. And I don't think I'm near that at all. But I'm definitely like in the hundreds, right? Like, and maybe even, I'm in like maybe 1,000 or two, like in total, if I'm talking about all the yarn I've kind of got together, that I've bought, because I've gotten some gift yarn and stuff like that. But it's a lot of money, and that's, I don't want to advertise and make anybody feel like they have to buy the yarn I'm using, because honestly, I shouldn't even be using the yarn I'm using. Like, I'm overspending on yarn. I need to not spend any more money on yarn. It's ridiculous. I don't need any more. It's just pointless. It's just a dopamine chase, honestly. That's all it is. Like, it's like that kind of like touch of shopping addiction, like the excitement of getting something pretty and new, right? And then forgetting about it, and then getting something else that's new, pretty and new. And so, yeah, like I kind of want to talk about that, and I wanted to mention that and say like why I'm deciding not to use the brand, like the brand names and stuff of the yarn I'm using, and just use the content and the weight, because most of the time you can find, most or all of the time you can find budget and affordable yarns that are the same or similar drape. Like I was saying earlier, like say I knit some, I don't think I will. Maybe as I'll ask for a gift or something, but like say I knit something at 100% silk. Like if you're like, oh, I can't afford 100% silk, but I can afford True by Lion Brand. Yeah, it's gonna do the same thing pretty much. Like, and if you know that, it's a good yarn substitution. And I don't think we need to be using, what would you call that? Not highbrow. I don't think we need to be using luxury yarns to make luxury knits. I think you can make luxury knits with budget yarn, because if you're knowledgeable in yarn and yarn content and gauge, drape, and weight of yarn, like there's so much manipulation you can do and substitutions you can do to make it affordable and look just as good, honestly. Like, and yeah. Maybe I should start suggesting like other yarns that could work, right? But yeah, like I know some people have a vendetta against acrylic yarn. Maybe not, like not really. But I think sometimes it's not even a vendetta. Like a lot of people say like I'm not against acrylic yarn, I just don't buy it. And I don't know if there's like this I don't know if you've heard, but we live in a society. But the societal pressure or like community pressure to use these yarns, but it's not like said. You just want to feel like you're doing the hobby justice, or you're doing the best you can you're making the most beautiful things. Like if you're going to spend this much time on it, you can spend this much money on it, or am I just rambling? I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a good idea, because I want everybody to knit. And I think in the future, I really want to start buying more acrylic yarn, more like polyester yarn, more budget yarns. And I was doing some like shopping around, but not like window shopping around, just to like figure out prices of like what's affordable, how much it would cost for me if I were to theoretically make a mohair cardigan that's held with 4 strands with like a budget mohair. Spoiler alert, even with a budget one, it's pretty expensive. Like, right? I guess being expensive is subjective, but like for most people are buying fast fashion stuff. And I'm still in that mindset of like, I don't want to pay more than $10 for a t-shirt, right? Like, no, like, because that, like, either I can't afford it, or why would you? Or I want to thrift, and then thrift is getting, like, you know, like gentrified and more expensive. Even, yeah, like even just like I don't know, it just makes me sad. I wish everybody felt like they could afford to knit. And obviously there's going to be people that can never afford to knit. I understand that. Like, people's circumstances are different. And unfortunately that's the case sometimes, and it's sad. But I should almost, I kind of want to do like, you know, I kind of want to do like an acrylic, or it's not drugstore, like, what do you call that, like not even budget, like I guess like saying just acrylic, but I want to be able to use like if you're using like Lion Brand Thick and Quick, like it's 20% wool and 80% acrylic. Like it's budget, but it's like, you know, box store, right? Like Michael's or Walmart, or in the States, like Hobby Lobby or Joann's, right? In the States. Like a box store knit along. And just to make that like more accessible, a little bit more accessible. And so I think that'd be really interesting and fun, and just like almost like proof of like what beautiful things you could make with not beautiful 100% merino or camel or silk or mohair. Like, you can make beautiful things with affordable yarn. I think you can. It'd be great if anybody, I know I don't have like a big following or anything, but if anybody is down for an acrylic knit along, I have 2 big balls of the Lion Brand the Lion Brand Pound of Love. I would make a huge cardigan with that. Anybody else want to join me? Like, I think that would be great. I also have a whole bunch of balls of this orange acrylic yarn that I think would make a beautiful fall sweater. Beautiful. Or like, yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should do that. Hopefully, that would be really cool if we could do that. But yeah. If not, if no one else wants to join me, I might just do it myself. Like, maybe in the next couple, I have other yarns, like, I have other projects planned with other yarns right now, but I'm going to be brainstorming and like looking at patterns that use like the acrylic yarn I have right now. I really want to see what I can make with it. I think it'd be a good idea. Good idea. Anyways, I have rambled on way too much. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I really enjoyed recording today. It was a lot of fun. I'm obsessed with my knits. I'm obsessed with knitting. I hope you are too. It's the best obsession. It's the best hobby. Making stuff for yourself or personally. Like, I like making other things for people sometimes too, but making stuff for myself makes me feel so good. Like, it just makes me feel so proud of myself, and wearing something that I made makes me feel just like, it just makes me so happy. Yeah, like wearing this sweater right now, this t-shirt sweater, makes me feel so happy. Why? I don't know. But it just makes me, it just hits the spot of, it just feels right, you know? I think we all feel that way sometimes, but yeah. I'm excited for this knitting journey to continue, and I hope anybody watching this will also join me. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you for watching. I'm losing my voice a little bit. I hope you have a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching this. Bye.